Hi guys, how are we? Hope you're well. Console Kijo here. This is Inspire YG. If it's your first time popping in here, welcome. And thank you so much for the people who have subscribed and people who are always showing love and always popping into the page, and to my other handles that's on Instagram and Facebook, where I'm also Inspire YG on those platforms. So I moved to Australia a couple of years ago as an international student, came from Kenya, East Africa, and yeah, finished uni and now I'm practicing. So I have had a fair share of, you know, my experience, my journey has just been an interesting one. I always like to say I'm an ordinary girl who's gone through an extraordinary journey, and just trusting the journey and trusting in God especially has got me where I am today. So some of the experiences I had, some of the successes, challenges, sponsorships, scholarships, name it, I talk about them, and I talk about such kind of topics, and this platform sort of is what I use to highlight some of those opportunities that you might get when you come to Australia as an international student. So that's just a little bit of background in a nutshell. Today I thought I'd share some. I've been thinking, how I don't know how I feel. I am that kind of a person who feels some type of way about negativity. I value positivity, and I feel like that's what helps us grow. But in life, sometimes you can avoid. Oh, it's loud. In life, sometimes you can't avoid negativity from happening. So now I thought about sharing this. This is I would just do 5 points. Some of the things that I experienced as an international student. Yeah, so some of the experiences were things that were very different. I had never experienced them in Kenya, even if they have happened to other people, because everybody's experience is different in life. My experience was, if I ever would be walking and I would sort of meet a stranger, or I'm just walking and a stranger is coming the opposite direction, and our eyes meet, most of the time you would just go like, oh mambo, or sasa, it's just a greeting as you pass by. But it was never like, oh, it's awkward, that person is looking at me, or yeah. I had never experienced that in Australia. What I felt was, you're not intentionally trying to look at someone. You're walking, but then just somehow you lift your head up or something, and eyes meet, and people would do something like, and and I would be like, I don't know what to do with that, because like I'll probably just smile, like, but for me, I would feel, oh my God, I think they felt uncomfortable that our eyes met. Until today, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Just comment down below if you've ever experienced that. Doesn't have to be in Australia, just anywhere else. But that was my experience. So it reached a point where I was always avoiding to have eye contact with people, because I felt like they were uncomfortable. And yeah, that's the first point. Second point, people could get up on a train when you try and sit next to them. So this was an interesting one. So my first college I went to was in the city, in Sydney, and I had to catch a train to go to school. And so most of the time, the classes were early in the morning, so those are peak hours. Like if you're catching a train at like 8 in the morning, or 6 or 5 p.m. in the evening, those are called peak hours. So that's when everybody's going to work or everybody's going home from work. So the trains are normally jam packed, and so you would walk on the train, and then you probably spot a seat. And I'm talking about pre-COVID, so it's even the situation is now worse with COVID, because obviously now you probably sit alone on a whole chair. just because of social distancing. But this video I'm talking about pre-COVID, so COVID wasn't even a thing in 2013 or 14. So anyway, people would sit, like, you would have a 3-seater. So obviously it's a cabin, you're on the train, and the chairs are 3 of them. One person will be sitting on this extreme end of the chair, and the other one will be at the window. And so the chair, the spot you have, the chair you spotted is in the middle of these 2 people who obviously don't know each other. And you would go and you tell the person who is now sitting near the hallway, excuse me, can I sit there? And sometimes the person would get up and they'll go and stand. So or sometimes even both of them would get up. Majority of the time it was always this one who would get up and not come back, and go and stand up. And that train would probably be, it's just like one stop. Mostly it will be like one stop to the city. So I would sit down. The initial days, I used to feel some type of way, because I used to be like, oh my God, that person felt offended that I wanted to sit next to them. And then I wouldn't know what is the issue. I wouldn't know, is it because they didn't want to sit close to 2 people, or is it because they didn't want to sit next to me? You start overthinking, and it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I just used to sit. It has happened to me so many times, but I stopped overthinking it, because then I thought, as far as I'm concerned, all I wanted to do was have a seat. You're not comfortable sitting next to me. I don't know why, but because I don't know why, I can't make that my business. Anyway, so it has always been, it was always an interesting thing every time I would catch a train. Mostly it was a train, never seen that in a bus. That point would be, now this can be an interesting one, in school, at uni. I'll do maybe an extensive video and talk about this, my experiences at uni with assignments and lecturers and stuff like that. But one thing I remember would be, there were some teachers who had a pre-med. They had this idea that because you look the way you look, the country you're coming from, people don't speak English. And so sometimes they would even question how you write your essay or what you're trying to say. And I remember there was one time where I wrote an essay, and this line was crossed, and I was like, okay, let me ask the lecturer what the issue was, because I felt like that line was self-explanatory. But when she came up to me, she just said, oh, when English is not your first language. She had not even looked at what she had cancelled. She just said, when English is not your first language. And I was like, I was so disappointed because I'm like, she doesn't even know that English is one of the official languages in Kenya. And I was like, okay, all right, I surrendered. So some of those things can happen, but these were not the days I could speak up for myself. These are just days where so many tiny little injustices or just things that don't add up could happen, and I would just brush it off. But I think the right thing would be to actually sit down with that teacher and sort of try and understand where they're coming from, but also help them understand where you're coming from, because there could be that it's not black and white kind of thing. There's a gray area there where there's a lot of preconceived ideas about who international students are and where they're from and what are their life experiences and things like that. And those preconceived ideas could actually deter you from achieving your goals if you actually don't focus on questioning and challenging some of those ideas. Now, the next point was, people mind their businesses. I think this is I saw the pros and cons of this. People minding their business. What do I mean? There was a time I was walking, I think it was in the city, and someone had a fall. I think it was, I'm not sure, dehydration or whatever it was. But the person next to the person who had a fall was still walking even after this person fell. They was it on their headphones, either headphones or headsets, I don't remember, but they didn't stop. And at that moment I thought, wow, okay, obviously, like I said, I stopped and I called 000 is the emergency numbers that you call in Australia. So I called 000, and obviously, the guy on the other side of the call was like, do you mind waiting there for the person to get help? Thankfully, I wasn't rushing anywhere, so I stood there and I waited for them to get there. But the person was unconscious, and I just thought the guy who was next to this person was pretty much just on their zone. And I've seen that thing so many times, and sometimes I wonder, what if I'm the one in that situation? I wouldn't be helped, right? Because someone was clearly minding their business. But it's funny. It also happened again. I think I remember I was on a train and I was at the back, and at the front I could see a lady. I think she was crying, or she kept turning and tossing, and she was doing all these things, and I didn't know how to react, and I didn't know what to do at that point in time. But I started thinking, was I being changed by the culture of let me mind my own business, that I had forgotten how we are back home? Like the idea of, if you see someone is in pain or stranded or confused or just something is not adding up, to go and try and help them. I just stood there and sat there, and I didn't know what to do. And then this guy was like few seats from her. He went up to her. Apparently she was having a panic attack, and at that time I didn't even know what panic attack was. I didn't know anything about anxiety disorder or anything like that. And this guy managed to calm her down until they got off to the next station, where he got her help. Yeah, so yeah, those are some of my observations. I mean, the last one I'll share was, there's some things that have, okay, for example, hair, natural hair. In Australia, you don't always, it's a multicultural country, right? So you're going to see people from all over the world. But I'm not even talking about me seeing a Kenyan. Sometimes, depending on which suburb you're living in, you can stay for a long time without even seeing an African, right? So the idea of even maintaining things like natural hair or dreadlocks or things like that, or braids, it's not always easy unless you've been here for a while and you know your way around the city and you know where you can get those kind of services. It's not always easy. So another thing, it's also very expensive. So for example, in Kenya, to do braids like this, it will cost you $10 or even less. Actually, I think even $10. Oh no, $10 is actually a lot. Less than $10, right? Here, to do your hair like this is literally, you can do it with less than 10,000 Kenyan shillings, and that is $100, and that is when it's cheap. Majority of the time you'll find yourself paying between 20,000 to 25, almost to 30,000 Kenya shillings just to have your hair braided, and the braids are yours. So some of these things can be very challenging. What I noticed is also I was lacking confidence in just keeping my natural hair, especially at work. Now there's a job I got, and I remember when I was signing the contract, it had said that you cannot have dreadlocks. And I thought, oh, the state of my natural hair when I wash it and twist it and leave it like that, it does look like, it's a free speech, it's a free hair. So I started thinking, oh my gosh, so maybe if I have my natural hair, I might be breaching some rule at work or something. And I started feeling, how can this be a rule, and how can it be something that people should follow when that's the hair, that's how my hair grows from my scalp? How can that be incriminated? Anyway, I just thought that was weird. The other thing that also happened around hair was one time I had just washed my hair and I had some little twists. Just, you can't afford to do this hair all the time. And so it's also not even just about money, it's also about time. You don't even have that time. Anyway, and this colleague just sees me and she makes fun of my hair and she says something like, your hair looks like pasta. I mean, it's offensive, but do I want to sit there and get offended? And just when I thought, wow, that's actually that's terrible. I mean, it's not like they were joking, because it's not a person like I knew very close. We are not so close. Well, we're not working so closely, so we're not in the same station or anything like that. And at that moment, a gentleman, another colleague, an Australian colleague, walked past, and I remember he scolded that lady big time. Like, I just kept quiet, but he was like, how dare you make fun of her natural hair? Her natural hair looks good the way it does. And he was like, people like you are the people who make others feel ashamed of who they were created to be. And he just said that and moved and like went about his business. And I thought, wow. Wow, see, this is an Australian who definitely never had to deal with hair issues or hair texture issues, or even hair be an issue for him. And yet he felt how I probably felt without even having to open my mouth, and he sort of defended me. And it got me thinking. I think after that I became very confident that I started just wearing my natural hair. When I wash it, I would just leave it like that, and I would just put a clip somewhere and I would go to work and I'll feel okay. So yeah, those are just a few points I wanted to share about some of the things I've experienced that I felt like I didn't experience back home. Share down below if some of these points sort of resonates with you, or do they make sense? Do they ring a bell? Have you experienced them? Let me know what you think, guys. That's all I thought I shared today. I hope it was not all dull and gloom. I like to share positive stories. So don't forget to subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Let us grow slowly but surely, and hopefully inspire more people out there to be confident in who they are and to be confident in who they are created to be, and pursue their goals as well. All right, until the next one, thank you so much and God bless. Bye.